Hello, I'm Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels, and today's project is going to be rebuilding this ZEBCO 404, which it's got a damaged body, and putting it into this body over here. One of the things that you'll notice about this reel is that the anti-reverse doesn't work on it. Okay, we're going to fix that. If you look at it here, you will see that the foot is broken off here and here. So we got two edges of broken foot. When you take the side cover or the front cover off, you'll see that there is a breakout right here also. So with all that going on with this old body, I've decided that we're going to remove this body and install it in this body, which I picked up. It's a good condition body. It's a much newer body than the other one, but I'm much more interested in getting the reel up and operational than I am whether or not it's collectible. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to install basically the internals of this reel into this new body. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our spinner head off. Take that off, and we're going to look up under here, and for Jim's sake, we're going to go ahead and talk about what's going on under here. All right, what you're going to see under here, this little piece here, it's going to ride on this center shaft here. And I know it's difficult to see. Let me slide this back in. It's going to be difficult to see, but there is a slight cam lobe that's cut into the top of this. Let me bring it up further. Okay, there's a slight cam lobe right there. And what's going to happen is when you push the button in, this rides up to the top, and this drops on top of that lobe. Well, as you wind the handle, this rides on that lobe, and it moves over and drops it down. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of grease right here to make sure that that functions properly. Exercise it a little bit to make sure that it's worked the grease in. Matter of fact, it won't hurt to move it over a little bit and go ahead and grease under it. There you go. So when we put that back, it'll already be pre-greased and ready to go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop this E-clip off. And it really works better for me if I go pushing away from me than instead of pulling towards me. But make sure to keep a thumb or finger on top of that E-clip so that it doesn't pop off, because it will go flying and then you've got to go off and find it. Move that over to the side. That now allows us to remove the spool. Now, the drag on this, well, first off, this axle shaft went ahead and fell out, and that's okay. It just fits right there like that. It's the second time it's fallen out now. So we're going to go ahead and take it out and leave it out for the moment. Okay? But the drag assembly on this thing, let me go ahead and explain it to you while we're here. This is the drag knob. And what happens, there's a cam on this drag knob. Let's go ahead and focus in down there. Okay. There's a cam lobe on this. And as you rotate the drag knob, it's going to put more and more pressure on this metal bar right here. Right now, I've got it at max drag, and it's very difficult to lift that up. Okay, now it's a minimum drag, and it lifts up easily. Well, what's going to happen when we put this spool back on, we've got to make sure, once all the line is out of the way, we've got to make sure that when we slide that on, see these teeth on the side right here? That's your clicker for your drag. Well, the other thing it also does is that this metal lever lays down on there, and you have to make sure that that's on there. If it's not, what'll happen is it'll sit right here, and you have effectively no drag. This has to be up and on top of those teeth, and we'll do that again when we get there to make sure that you don't forget it. All right, so let's get the spool out of the way. I'm going to clip some of that excess line off of there. All right, now we're going to remove the handle, although there's really no need to remove the handle. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. We're going to take it apart. There we go. Remove the handle nut. Remove the handle. All right, now we were talking about what was wrong with this and the fact that it wasn't working, and for the anti-reverse. And what had happened, it was sitting like this. All right, so that, yes, this would turn, but there's no anti-reverse. It allows it to go each way because this little lever right here, this little, see this lever? That's your anti-reverse lever. It has to go into this slot right here. Just like that. Now, if it's in there, now when it rolls forward, that's fine. And when it goes backwards, it's going to pull this around and hopefully activate the anti-reverse. Oh, we have to take, there. Now, that would click into here, like so. See how it works? All right. So we got to make sure that that's right. I'm going to point out another problem that this reel had. Now, the reason that was in the wrong place is I accidentally put it there. I was in a hurry when I put it together last, and that's why it wasn't working. But that's how that works. If it gets back behind there, then this lever can't do what it's supposed to do, and it's not going to work for you. This reel also had a problem. This assembly right here was bent over to where it was up against right here. It was bent over, and I had to straighten it up and get it back straight up and down again instead of leaned over, because that also was keeping the anti-reverse from working. All right, so that's really all that there is to this reel. I'm going to do a quick cleanup and get rid of all this old excess grease. Like I said, I've had this apart. I've never cleaned it, but I have had it apart a couple of times looking at it. There we go. This is our axle shaft, and it slides in and out right here. And you got to be careful. You can catch your finger in there, and it will give you a blood blister if you're not careful. All right, so let's go ahead and put some grease on this pinion gear. Now, I've already inspected the pinion gear to make sure none of the teeth are damaged on it. All right, once we've got the pinion gear greased up, let's put a little bit of grease here. Because what's going to happen as we exercise this gear up and down, it's going to pick up that grease and move it to this bottom edge. Okay? And allow it to move smoother. Now, we're going to put oil on this shaft right there, because that's going to go inside here in just a moment. For that, we're going to check this gear, make sure it's nice and clean, and I've already cleaned it before, and I put a little bit of grease on it the other day just to make sure that it was going to flow okay. There wasn't any problem. Let's go ahead and grease this gear, just the teeth of it. And while we're here, let's go ahead and pull this off back here. Take a look at this. See the way this is made? What happens, let's go ahead and slide it off. When I first encountered this the other day, this fit very loosely on this shaft. And with it fitting very loosely, what was happening is it wasn't engaging enough. See, it has to have a fair amount of tension on this shaft in order to drive this lever over to pull that in against the gear. So it's got to be tight. If it's not, which this one wasn't, the only thing I did was I went back and I took a pair of pliers and very gently squeezed this in a little bit. Okay, you don't want to get too carried away, because you bend this back and forth too many times right here, you're going to end up snapping it. Okay, once you know you've got it good, you install it with this point facing towards the threads of the shaft. Now you've got it. We've got it greased. We are going to oil this shaft And you can grease it if you choose to, but it just makes the reel a little bit more sluggish. There we go. Now this time, make sure you don't do what I did last time, which was to accidentally get the gear in there. You don't want that. You want to make sure that that gear goes into that slot, like so. And then you've got to make sure it stays there. Now, insert your main gear or your axle shaft back in. And this is ready to go. Now, before we put this all the way, the rest of the way back in, what we're going to do is we're going to put this spool back on. And again, this is because what we talked about a while ago. And that's, these teeth have got to fit underneath that metal post. So slide this on, like so, and then lift up on this gear or metal plate and slide this under it. Once you know you've got it in there, now you're good. At that point, you can go ahead and install your E-clip. Now that you've got that done, you can go ahead and install it in this case. Now, I do recommend adding just a little bit of grease here to the end of it, and take that same grease and put it right on the end of the button where that post is going to ride. That just keeps it from wearing. Okay, slide your drag knob up inside the case, like so. Make sure your button's held up so it's not getting caught in the back, and then slide it all together, like so. With that done, you can reinstall your spinner head. Now, to do that properly, you need to have the button pushed in, which means you're going to have to hold this frame into this case. Okay, once you've done that, tighten it down. And at this point, you're ready to put the handle back on. And you need the handle on because you need to hold it while you do the final tightening on your spinner head right here. See, the knob's going to try to turn. Tighten it down. Take your line. You can tell that your drag is very loose at this point because we've got it all the way on a minimum adjustment. Run your line through your cover. Screw it down. Push the button. Okay, we've got line flow. This line, I believe, is too heavy for this reel. I think it's about 20 or 30 pound test. Okay, it's winding. Okay, we're going to put it on anti-reverse, which it does. Now we're going to adjust the drag up. That's much better. Before, just a light finger pressure was holding it back. All right. And there you have the ZEBCO 202. I'm sorry, 404. It's a heavier reel than the 202. It's designed for heavier line. I do believe that that 30-pound test line that it's got on it is a bit much for it. So I'm going to be taking that off, and I'm going to let the next owner of this reel adjust it for whatever they want. But it's not a high-dollar reel, so I'm not worried about affecting the collector value of it by changing out the body. It's now a perfectly functional reel. It no longer has this broken feet on it, and this side case, it's snapped. We don't have to worry about any of that. Everything is back together the way it should be, and we've got a perfectly functional 404 reel. So if you like what you saw here, oh, hang on, let's go ahead and lubricate. And I'm not, you know, I can't even verify that this is the right handle for this, for either model of this reel, but it fits it. So I was when I got this reel, it had no handle. And so I picked one up out of the case, out of the box of reels that I had, reel handles that I had, and stuck it on here. It works. It's functional. And that was my entire goal for this reel, was to get this reel up and running, get it ready for somebody to take fishing. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you dislike the video, go ahead, hit the dislike button. I would appreciate if you told me what you didn't like about it, so maybe I can fix that. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. And for now, this is Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.